From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on January 5th, 2024 from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. Welcome to 2024, folks. That's right. We have a bit of a recap for y'all from the past few days when we were off, including the latest campaign trail moves for both Republicans and Democrats. What? That's right. We got some big names in town this month from the White House. Ever heard of it?
Wow.
We look at who is spending what on ads and where.
Wow.
And former Governor Nikki Haley's biggest SNAFU to date, as well as political spouses renaming their husbands.
Wow.
We also have an economic update for y'all following the latest national employment data. Now, I told y'all after Labor Day that the merry-go-round was spinning faster. Well, it's the new year and we're days away from the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary. And let's just say that this merry-go-round is about to go airborne, folks. I'll be reporting for y'all on the ground in those states and bringing you the latest direct from the trail. Of course, this coincides with the start of the legislative session. This is my way of saying bear with us as we work to maintain our regular production schedule amid these busy times. Long story short, we're going to be on the road. You're going to be listening to the sounds of my vehicles. You can also find out more about the South Carolina primary, the latest news from the trail, and more at southcarolinapublicradio.org and scetv.org/SC2024. Your home for campaign 2024 coverage. Now, in this new year, we want to hear from some new folks. That's right. You got to call us at 803-563-7169. Maybe you're listening for the first time. Maybe a couple of weeks ago you started listening. Maybe you've been listening for a long time. Resolve to talk to the lead this year, folks. 803-563-7169. Tell us what's on your mind, what you like about the pod, what you don't like about the pod. We'll see if it gets on the air. Let us know what's on your resolution list for 2024. 803-563-7169. We love our old callers too, so give us an update. What's going on, guys? It's a new year, but not a new us. That's right, we're still here for you guys. But the campaign trail is red hot, and it's only a matter of days till it ramps up here in South Carolina. Maybe? We'll see who is left standing after the Iowa caucus on January 15th and the first in the nation, for Republicans, primary on January 23rd. It's been an incredibly snoozy presidential primary campaign season here over the past 12 months. For example, former President Donald Trump only held 5 events in the state last year, 2 of which were his signature rallies, though they did draw tens of thousands of folks. Former Governor Nikki Haley, a known commodity to South Carolinians, routinely made stops throughout her home state after debates and other early voting state swings. After announcing her candidacy to some 2,000 folks in Charleston last February, she got in a rotation of visiting roughly once a month and held her largest rally to date in Bluffton in late November, drawing some 2,500 people. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has made a handful of trips to the Palmetto State since announcing his candidacy in late May. His trips typically featured multiple stops across the state in the span of a day, and then he'd head back to Iowa, where he is pinning his campaign's hopes and dreams. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie has popped down to the state.
How you doing?
But thinks New Hampshire will somehow give his campaign life.
Oh!
He polls in a strong distant third to Trump and Haley, and there are growing calls for him to end his campaign and endorse Haley, who trails Trump by 14 points in the latest poll from St. Anselm, but leads Christie by 18 points. So, 2016 flashbacks to when Christie placed sixth in a field of 9. Even Vivek Ramaswamy abandoned our state in the late spring after a bus tour so he could focus on the Hawkeye state.
Wow.
Despite everyone's obsession with Iowa, it has an incredibly poor track record of picking the eventual Republican nominee. We're talking like 43%, folks.
Data!
South Carolina, we're like almost 100. You know why? We had that little snafu in 2012. Other than that, we're 100% that state. Also, Iowa, a cumbersome caucus process. relies heavily on a campaign's ability to organize and turn out folks, which isn't that reliable. So you'll see. Now, you can't really blame Haley for making a dig at Iowa by saying New Hampshire fixes Iowa's mistakes, because you know what? It's actually South Carolina's job to fix everyone's mistakes here. Why? Because like I said, we have an incredibly representative Republican demographic, which those other states have only read about. And it goes for the Democrats too. Hence the reason South Carolina jumped both Iowa and New Hampshire on the Democratic nominating calendar this year. Speaking of the Democrats, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are not forgetting the South Carolina Democrats that propelled Biden to the nomination. That's why he pushed the Democratic National Committee to put our diverse state first in the process. As such, both Biden and Harris are making trips here this month as the re-election campaign kicks off. Biden gave his opening salvo in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania on Friday, January 5th, the day before the 3-year anniversary of January 6th. And he'll give remarks at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, home to the horrific, racially fueled 2015 massacre that left 9 black parishioners dead, including Reverend Clemente Pinckney, who was also a state senator. The only other politician to use the church as a campaign backdrop was Senator Cory Booker during the 2020 primary race. Now, Harris will be in Myrtle Beach on Saturday, and she'll also be the keynote speaker at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day at the Dome event in Columbia, which is outside the State House on January 15th, notoriously like one of the coldest days of the year. Now, DNC Chairman Jamie Harrison was just in the state late last year talking about the group's coordinated push with the state party to ramp up get out the vote efforts and re-energize a base that has been lacking enthusiasm lately. We'll have more on the Democrats later this month as we gear up for the February 3rd first in the nation Democratic primary. Let's get back to the Republican presidential campaign trail and some updated numbers on ad spending. That's right. As of January 4th, ad impact data shows that Haley and related groups supporting her have spent the most of any candidate in this cycle. For Haley, that comes out to $63.1 million in ad spending and pre-booked ads, followed by DeSantis with $58 million and Trump at $49 million. Haley has split that money somewhat evenly between Iowa and New Hampshire, spending slightly more in the Granite State. Pro-DeSantis ad spending is heaviest in Iowa at 28% compared to New Hampshire at 12%. Just another example of the Florida governor's all-in approach to Iowa. Pro-Trump spending was evenly split between the 2 early voting states. Heck, even Chris Christie dropped an ad in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. And if you're thinking, well, I haven't seen that many ads. Well, the ads, they are coming, folks. Haley has been releasing multiple ads over the past few days, as well as the Stand for America PAC, which supports her, and has been going hard against DeSantis. Trump released his first attack ad against Haley in New Hampshire, where she poses the greatest threat to his sustained lead. Of course, when you got money to spend, you spend it, and Haley is doing that. Her campaign announced an impressive $24 million fourth quarter fundraising haul. That was larger than her previous 3 quarters combined. Her Senate campaign has been hitting at the key moments. Remember, she didn't come in this race with a bunch of money or buzz, but a lean operation, a steady pace of campaigning, increased attention since the first debate in August, which led to stronger fundraising and higher poll numbers, and that is all peaking right now at this critical time that has put her on the path to second place currently. Now, the campaign said it has $14.5 million on hand going into 2024. Some good walking around money. Now, over the break, there have been a few Haley moments, including her saying that slavery wasn't the cause of the Civil War, and an excerpt from her 2012 book that has resurfaced in which she told her husband to go by his middle name instead of his first name. Let's break these down one at a time and revisit the Civil War, which ended 158 years ago, but for one New Hampshire voter, it was top of mind. Here is the interaction during a town hall in Berlin, New Hampshire.
What was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
I'm not running for president. I wanted to see your
That's a good thing
on the cause of the Civil War.
I mean, I think it always comes down to the role of government and what the rights of the people are. And I will always stand by the fact that I think government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery?
No, you've answered my question. Thank you.
During her CNN town hall on January 4th, she was asked about that response, and she also mentioned that she had black friends growing up in Bamberg, which has also drawn fire. But here she is talking with NBC News on Friday, January 5th, where she clears up a lot of that.
You've been asked about your comments on slavery. We don't need to rehash that. But there were some critics that criticized your comments last night about having black friends as sort of using a trope. What do you say to people who say that you've really had challenges when it comes to talking about race and are worried about what that would mean for the general election?
We were the only Indian family in our small southern town. I was teased every day for being brown. So anyone that wants to question it can go back and look at what I've said on how hard it was to grow up in the Deep South as a brown girl. Anybody can look at my record and see when Walter Scott was shot down by a dirty cop, how I made sure that the Walter Scott family didn't suffer because we put the first body camera bill in the country in place. Anybody can look at the fact that when we had 9 amazing souls die in Mother Emanuel Church, I did something that no Republican or Democrat ever wanted to touch, which was call for the Confederate flag to come down because it would take 2/3 of the House and Senate and was an impossible feat. I don't know what you're implying with that, but what I will tell you is saying that I had black friends is a source of pride. Saying that I had white friends is a source of pride. If you want to know what it was like growing up, I was disqualified from a beauty pageant because I wasn't white or black, because they didn't know where to put me. So look, I know the hardships, the pain that come with racism. It's the reason that I fight bullies every day when it comes to racism, anti-Semitism, or hate, and I always will. If I didn't mention slavery on that day, it's because that's an automatic. There's always been, the Civil War's always been known about slavery. I misread it and thought he was looking for a bigger answer going forward. So critics can say whatever they want. I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm very comfortable with what I believe in, and my job is not to convince them.
Let's go to Haley's 2012 book, Can't Is Not an Option, in which she discusses how she essentially changed her husband's name. Here's the passage, quote, "You may be wondering how Bill became South Carolina First Gentleman Michael Haley. After we started dating, I looked at him one day and said, 'What's your name?' 'You know it's Bill,' he said, puzzled. 'You just don't look like a Bill. What's your whole name?' 'William Michael.' From that point on, I started calling him Michael, and all my friends did the same. When he transferred to Clemson his sophomore year, my friends became his friends, and before we knew it, he was universally known as Michael. Everyone who knew him before I did knows him as Bill, and everyone who met him after I did knows him as Michael. He looks like a Michael." Quote. Andrew Prokop, a senior politics correspondent for Vox, dropped this 11-year-old bombshell on Twitter, and Twitter did its thing. Twitter, do your thing. Now, Nikki Haley goes by her middle name, not her first name, Namarada. She's not the only 2024 spouse playing the name game here, though. Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis got her husband, Ron, to change the way he says his family name.
Wow.
DeSantis is how he would say it up until around his first gubernatorial election in 2018. She, on the other hand, decided that they should soften that first syllable. Now, in a 2018 Tampa Bay Times article, Slate reports that Casey was a clear suspect for the change, noting that in one TV spot in which the couple touted the governor's love for Donald Trump, she, and the ad's voiceover, pronounced it DeSantis. Meanwhile, in an ad that later ran in that cycle, DeSantis stuck with D. Now, this is probably the best time for me to say that I changed the pronunciation of my name when we started this podcast, from Javon to Gavin. It's society, guys. Let me know what you prefer, 803-563-7169. Let's get a quick vibe check.
Yes.
To do that, we're going to look at a poll. That's right. An Emerson College poll of 584 South Carolina Republican primary voters conducted between January 2nd and the 3rd found Trump with a 29-point lead over Haley, with 54% over Haley's 25%. DeSantis came in at 7%. Spencer Kimball, executive director of Emerson College Polling, said, quote, "The current state of the race in South Carolina finds Trump as the frontrunner, with Haley as his main opponent. DeSantis has seen a decline in support, and similar to our New Hampshire poll, has faded into the pack with single-digit support. A key question arising from this poll is whether Haley can mobilize ample support in her home state before the primary, in case the race becomes more competitive after New Hampshire," quote. Back to the poll. When it came to issues, the poll found Republican voters more strongly view the economy as the top issue, followed by immigration. Democrats are more splintered among the economy, health care, threats to democracy, and abortion access. The poll found that independent voters fall somewhat in the middle, with the economy, threats to democracy, and immigration as their top 3 issues. Now, despite some sentiments in this poll and countless others, the economy remains in good shape. In fact, South Carolina just wrapped up its second biggest year for economic development, with 81 projects, 14,120 announced jobs, and $9.2 billion in investment. Sounds like a pretty bad economy to me. Don't tell the economy that the economy's bad here. You know what I mean? Wink. In fact, the economy is even coming in for the soft landing that we've been talking about. That's right. The hottest economic phrase of the past few years has been soft landing. Welcome to Soft Landing, a reference to the fine line the Federal Reserve Bank tried to walk while landing the economic plane after it raised interest rates to combat record high inflation without causing a hard landing, which would have been a recession, something everyone's also been predicting incorrectly. A hot labor market and economy has helped with all of this, and following the latest jobs report on Friday, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called a soft landing on CNN.
There has been a lot of pessimism about the economy that's really proven unwarranted. A year ago, most forecasters believed we would fall into a recession. Obviously, that hasn't happened. We have a good, strong labor market. Today's news, as you mentioned, showed that the unemployment rate remains low, and we added 216,000 jobs. Now, the pace of job creation over the last 3 months averages 165. That's down from a year ago when the economy was still recovering from the pandemic. But it's something that's expected and desirable, consistent with an economy that is now recovered and is transitioned to stable and steady growth. So the labor market continues to fire on all cylinders. Other reports this week, a low level of initial claims for unemployment insurance, job openings remain at healthy levels. And importantly, inflation has come way down. Over the last 6 months, the measure that the Fed watches most has been running right at their target of 2%. And Americans are beginning to feel that, and some surveys are suggesting that they're becoming more optimistic, which is something that's really good to see, because price increases have slowed substantially. Some important prices have fallen noticeably. The majority of gas stations around the country, a gallon of gas is now selling for under $3 a barrel. Used car prices have come down. You know, there's more work to do on the inflation front. Some important prices, food prices and apartment rentals remain high, but we're really making progress.
Now, if you're not happy with your job in our state, well, there are 165,000 job openings here. Again, don't tell the economy about the economy. Wink, wink. And don't have the skills to get one of those jobs? Well, technical colleges across our state offer training and certificates for in-demand jobs. So be the change you want to see in the economy. And real quick, some troublesome stats for you on the way out. According to the Center for Educator Recruitment, Retention, and Advancement's latest report, there were 1,613 unfilled K-12 educator jobs at the start of this year's school year. That's a 9% increase from last year and more than double from 3 years ago. 37% of the 7,300 teachers who left the profession had 5 or less years of experience. Others transferred schools and 15% retired. The state budget did boost teacher pay by $2,500 and included hundreds of millions of dollars for additional per-pupil funding. There's also money to boost school safety, funding SROs for every school, and a 20% salary increase for bus drivers. That was also in the current fiscal year budget. The governor released his budget priorities Friday, and House lawmakers will soon be crafting their version of the state budget. That's right, folks. The legislative session is here. It's happening. You just have to let it happen to you. I'm sorry. I have no control. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here. Welcome. AT, Shire, podcast producer.
Yes.
Welcome.
Welcome.
2024, welcome.
Oh, 2024. May the 2024th be with you.
Oh, every single day of the year. Is it a leap year?
It might be. I don't know. I don't quite care. I don't quite care. I'll still be doing this podcast.
It is.
Is it?
Wait, I don't know.
I don't know. This is good. This is a good start
I feel like
to the year.
This is an entire podcast for some people. Well, we spent the whole time not looking at Google.
Hey, pull that up for me, please. Can you pull that up for me, please?
Why does February have 29 days in 2024?
Interesting.
It's called a leap year, folks.
Gavin's going to read Wikipedia
our
to you.
planet's orbit remains in sync with the 4 seasons.
Oh, thank God.
Whereas my body is constantly in sync. There's no need for a leap day.
Yeah, Gavin is always dialed in. Anyway, Gavin, speaking of dialing in,
let me ground my feet.
We did get a call. Gavin had sod put in the studio so he can constantly be grounding. We did get a call. It's from a friend. Are you ready, Gavin? First call of the year.
Let me ask the grass.
Yes. Okay.
Hey guys, it's Teacher Roman. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I have some hot takes, and the first thing I want to say is that thank you again for doing what you guys do. It is amazing. It is so important, and we're so lucky to have you guys having this project. It really is. It's really beneficial for the rest of us. AT, you're so good at giving gifts. I remember you gave a gift at the end of last year, and I wanted to give a gift to you guys as well. So even though I don't live in South Carolina, I signed up for the ETV endowment to do like a subscription, a couple of $5 or whatever a month. But I did it in honor of South Carolina Lede, because I think you guys are just so, like I said, important. Okay, so a couple things in my second minute here. Meshuggah. I had no idea what Meshuggah was. I went to Spotify. I played the first song. It was Bleed. And I'm honestly, I can see an appeal in the athleticism of the music, the drummer, for instance, and the way that they sing. The lyrics, very deep, obviously. I wonder what the experience is like at the actual concert, and is it what that's like for you, AT? Is it spiritual? And so the baby advice here in the final 30. Rule number 1, respond to everything with love. Rule number 2, hold her like a baby and talk to her like an adult for her whole life. And when she's older, remind her that adults tell themselves what to do. Also, Bluey is great, and if you could just try to be like Bandit as much as possible, be off to a great start. Love you guys. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Roman, a wonderful voice to start off our new leap year. And AT is very good at giving gifts. I'm breaking in the air fryer as we speak.
He's
we can
using
talk
it.
about that. I know. I thought it was going to be months, but I just got moved.
I was shocked. He
the
texted
holiday
me.
spirit moved me. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Roman, thank you so much on behalf of the ETV Endowment. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, period. I ripped my membership too. I got my sticker for the back
Gavin
of the Passat.
is so into the stickers, yeah.
I hate to tell everyone this, but I didn't get one last year.
Oh my
So I'm
God.
off
That's
by
why you
one.
had to cover up the other one. Yeah, had to cover up the year.
And that was some beautiful advice for AT, our new pop-off.
Oh, yes. I'm going to be a father, and that's going to be great. Roman, thank you for calling. Thank you for the advice. Seeing Meshuggah is the best. Bleed is a little too much of a, it's more of a rhythmic exercise than it is a song. But the concert was great. The tempos and time signatures bounce around, and it's great. One of the best concerts I've ever been to. That's great advice. I will remember to hold my daughter like an adult and speak to her like a baby. I think that's what you said.
Pretty much. You do that for me.
Yeah, that's how I get Gavin up for every episode.
It's the entire production process right there.
Anyway, Gavin, speaking of that air fryer, you are breaking this in.
Yes.
You are cooking.
I'm air frying.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you have a little tiny convection oven, which people consider frying now for some reason.
It's a selling point. It's all about marketing.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. It's that Ninja air fryer that you got me.
Ninja.
I've been mashing a bunch of chicken thighs in there, bone in, skin on.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, it comes out the crispy little skin, and you can eat it and not feel guilty like you're eating fried chicken. You know what I mean?
Don't you throw out the skin?
I did, but then the other day I did it again.
What
I was
a
like, Let me
freak.
just try this a little bit.
It's so good.
So I did it, and I was like, oh, I can do this guilt-free a little bit, but it's just fat, so it's probably not the best thing. But still, delicious.
There's collagen in it. It's good for your skin.
So I lay it on my skin.
Yes.
So I've been air frying my face.
Yes.
But no, it's been great. I've been eating it. So I did. It does kind of make the house smell like chicken a lot, though.
That's not bad. I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, it just makes me feel like I've been working as a short-order cook somewhere, which I guess I have been in my home.
That's the one thing about like open concept houses and stuff. Like when you have one and your kitchen is open to the rest of your house, the rest of your house smells like cooking at all times, you know? Everything. My coat smells like what I cooked.
In this house, our kitchen is open.
Hey, you know what? Bless this mess. You know what I mean? Hashtag bless this
God bless
mess.
this mess. So, yeah, I've been enjoying it. I'm loving it. I have no counter space for it, but, you know, where there's a will, you know, then I have my Ninja blender, and I got my Instapot.
You living a Ninja lifestyle.
I'm living a modern kitchen appliance lifestyle. So it's been wonderful. Yeah, it's a great start to the new year. So healthy. I immediately feel healthier.
And so you told me that you made a chili with this.
Yeah, I just shredded the chicken, then I put it into my Instapot, another favorite thing.
Another countertop
Which is
eater.
the only issue that I have with the air fryers. That I love using the chicken thighs in the Instapot because then I get a good broth out of it afterwards. I save the broth for the week. I got a little soup here and there. But then I made a chili because it's chili season. I'm obsessed with chilies. They're so easy for meal prep. And
It's a slop.
You're a slop.
You're a big slop guy.
a dryer stew, if you will.
You're a big slop guy. Gavin's got 1,000-year stew going on, always boiling.
There's always a mother in there. Which reminds me, I got to get home. Yeah, so I had to go to the store to get some other ingredients.
And
while my
you just
stew, my
freewheeled in there.
while my stew was
Freestyle.
becoming a chili.
Yeah.
And I came across a can of okra.
Disgusting.
One of my favorite veggies of the South. And
I
it was
think
already
they're
sliced up, and I was like,
terrible.
oh, what a great idea. Let's throw it in there. Let's chalk this thing up with some more crap. And it's good because, you know, the okra, it still maintains its little crunch, but it's still that soft crunch.
When
It's a safe space.
When I first moved to the South and I looked at basic Lizard's Thickets menu, right? I didn't eat any of that stuff.
Now.
And slowly I've come to love almost all of it. You know, collard greens are one of my most favorite things to eat. Okra is disgusting. Okra is foul. It is a snot pod, and it is definitely a food of
slimy
desperation.
things like that. It's a delicious little thing.
It's not good.
And then you
I
get
don't
it pickled,
like
you
them.
put it in your Bloody Mary. Oh,
It's always
you
fine.
can live off of that. That's a whole meal right
It's
there.
fine until the snot, okay? And the snot,
if you cook it right, you get rid of
there's
the
still snot. No, you don't get rid of it. It's always there, and it's a deal breaker for me.
Okay, when did you not like weird foods?
I
you can
like-
classify this as a weird food.
2024, I'm out on snot eating, okay? I'm hard out, okay?
Oh, fine,
For
fine.
that, I'm out. For that, I'm out, okay? Anyway.
I love it.
What a good 2024 first.
and you know,
What did we learn today? We learned what a leap year was, and we learned to hold adults like babies and babies like adults. We love you all. Please call in. Tell me if I got any of that wrong. We love you. And Gavin, say the outro.
Thanks for listening to the pod, y'all. You can show us your appreciation by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or a voicemail like Teacher Roman at 803-563-7169. You can always stay up to date with the latest news on scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
Y'all already know.
Y'all already know by now.
You sang that one.
Y'all
Y'all already know by now.
Wow.